What's going on, everybody? It's this Fry. So today I'm going through the recent balance changes that Ninja Kiwi has made in the middle of the public beta. First of all, huge shout out to them for actually taking a lot of feedback from the community and then implementing changes so quickly. I mean, that is just amazing to have a gaming studio that is doing stuff like that. Also, huge news, I just found out that they are going to be keeping the multiplayer servers open for longer. They were really supposed to sort of end on like Thursday of this week. They were going to only be open for a week, but they have announced that they are going to keep it open for another week or two. So we still have a lot of opportunities to play Bloons Card Storm. If you do not have a key and you did not sign up for the public beta, I am very often in my live streams on Twitch raffling out keys at the end of the stream, including the one that I'm recording right now. So make sure you come over to the live streams for your chance to win a key in the raffle. So I'm going to be going through one at a time the changes that happened that were just dropped recently, just last night. I will be telling you what I think about them, and let us begin. So the first one is Dart Monkey. I really like this change. The fact that Dart Monkey, the most iconic monkey probably in the Bloons franchise, really didn't see much play. This used to cost 1 gold, which is a pretty good deal, 20 damage for 1 gold every turn, but the problem is that you only have 5 monkey slots. And having Dart Monkey is really a liability, because in the late game, you're really just going to end up covering that Dart Monkey with something better. And if you draw your Dart Monkeys late, there's absolutely no use for them. So I really like the fact that they're giving even more motivation to run Dart Monkey, and I think this could be an important part in slowing down aggro decks because of how efficient it is at 0 gold, and aggro is definitely the most OP strategy. This will also work well with Super Monkey Fan Club that will buff Dart Monkey and a bunch of other monkeys. I'm going to get to that a little bit later once we go up and talk about the nerf to Bionic Boomerang. Alright, the next one is Spike-o-pult, which happens to be another monkey that will be buffed by the Super Monkey Fan Club. Spike-o-pult is an interesting card for cost. It's only doing 25 damage every 2 turns, but every single time it actually pops a balloon doing the finishing damage, it'll gain 20 power. So this used to be starting at 20 power, now it starts at 25. I don't think that this really addressed the problem with the card. The idea of the 25 is that it's easier to sort of get that first on pop condition, that now instead of just doing 20-25, you'll have more of a chance of getting that first buff, and then now they'll have 45, which is obviously a lot easier to pop things. The problem with the card is the 2 reload, because even if you are consistently popping something the turn you play and then two turns later, like even just on your 4th turn, you'll be able to get this to 65 every 2 turns. Which is really not very much for a 4-cost monkey that's already started off really slow. If you just compare it to like Mortar or things like that, they end up doing a lot more damage. Even triple shot basically does 60 as long as they have 3 balloons on the board. More importantly is the fact that you're not always going to consistently be able to pop something, even with the extra attack. Even if you are able to pop something first for 25, even popping something for 45 is not guaranteed. Your opponent can very easily play around Spike-o-pult by not putting balloons on the board, besides for the fact that they could just be running a lot of bigger balloons like MOABs have been buffed, and there are definitely going to be a lot more of those being played. You're not necessarily going to have a pop every 2 turns, so less than every 2 turns it's going to be growing by 20 power. I really do think, again, this is a little bit of flaw in the design. I think their only options for this would be to decrease the delay down to 1, maybe start off a little bit weaker, but then then eventually after a few turns this can go from being a terrible card to actually being able to do 40 and then 60 damage per turn. Maybe again decreasing the initial attack if they were to do that in order to make the card a little more balanced, so it's not just 2 turns later it's doing 60 damage per turn. The other thing it could do is keep the delay at 2 and just make it gain more every single time it pops. Like make this reward even like 30 or 40. They'll really give it the opportunity, because it's such a slow card. It's so weak into aggro decks, for example, because it's really just not being efficient enough in the damage in the early game, but really reward people for developing this early, popping something with it early. Yeah, maybe increasing, like decreasing the delay, and then instead of getting 20 power per turn, it'll only be getting like 15 or 10 or something like that. But right now it just seems way too slow. The next one that got buffed is Wizard Monkey. So this used to start at 15 attack, and now it's a huge buff. Almost double damage starting at 25. It really makes it worth it to develop this in a lot more situations. And then it's also, again, going to be gaining power every single turn. I think Wizard Monkey is in a pretty good spot right now. Because, again, it starts off a little weak, but it doesn't have to pop something. It's automatic at the beginning of every turn. And eventually, again, even if this gets up to, it'll take, just to get up to, like, 40 damage per turn, takes 3 turns, and then it'll kind of, like, hit par then, and then go beyond that. Even 40 damage for 4 is not that great. But I guess in the course of a long game, this can end up being pretty impactful. All right, next up on the list, we got probably one of the biggest affecting cards. One of the cards that was probably had the highest play rate. One of the highest play rates before the buff, and this was hugely effective. This is Bionic Boomerang. They said that this card was actually a mistake. This was considered by almost everyone as the best defensive monkey in the game. The delay used to be 1. So the first turn you'd play it, it would do 160, and then it would be doing 80 per turn after that, 2 shots at 40. Now it does 160 when you play it, and it's basically only doing 40 per turn after that. It'll be doing 80 damage every 2 turns. So we can say about an average of 40 per turn. This really hurt the card because, again, you have a 6-cost card that you're basically using this like a power, like almost like an arrow storm of arrows or something like that. That is sort of the main use of it, is just the play that it does this huge amount. And then kind of over time, it's still doing, again, 40 damage per turn. For a 6 cost seems really weak. It could be this is, again, still going to be useful to bail people out of situations, but it certainly is not going to be a staple card in every single deck. This also does worry me a bit because aggro has been the best deck overall, I believe, in Bloons Card Storm. Aggro really hasn't gotten nerfed a lot. I'm going to talk about a little bit later how they nerfed Quick Ready and they nerfed double Bloons, and they even nerfed like yellow Bloons a little bit. But really, the aggro that is the problem. Those are like combo. Those are nice finishers that come at the end of an aggro deck of playing double yellow Bloon and Quick Ready really efficiently. But the main aggro are just your regular red Bloons, your swarm reds, your greens. They just do so much damage per gold cost. Just your regular greens, your regular blues, and your swarm greens and swarm blues. Those are really the problem with aggro. Like, you can either play all of them every single turn, spend your gold, or save up and spam all of them at once, depending on if you want to play around your opponent's monkeys or around their field clear. Those would be 2 equally viable strategies. You can spam all of them and then using Bloon and Big in order to give you a big finisher. I think the fact that, especially against, let's say, the first way of playing, though, the most typical way of playing aggro, of just spamming a Bloon every single turn, the fact that you really don't have as strong as of a defense that you can really just remove that every single turn what they play, like really having good defenses to slow down aggro. It's gonna probably make aggro a little out of control. I'm gonna make a video later discussing specifically what I would do to solve aggro in the game. It definitely would involve taking off charges from some of these regular balloons. Like this one would only have 1 charge, and maybe the swarm then would have 2, and that would really make aggro run out of cards, so you can't just spam all 0s, 1s, and 2s and 3 costs and never run out of cards in the game. But in the meantime, I am very afraid of just the regular aggro decks attacking. I don't think, again, Wizard that got buffed, and definitely Spike-o-pult, I don't think those are really going to be able to fill the niche that Bionic Boomerang really, the necessity that Bionic Boomerang did in order to slow down the really fast decks in the game. The thing that really might see, though, that I'm very happy about, because it's a very fun designed card, really might take the place of Bionic Boomerang now is Super Monkey Fan Club. This used to never ever be worth it, because first of all, it doesn't gain the extra 2 ammo on its first shot, so you don't have like that big burst removal that Bionic Boomerang. But second of all, Super Monkey Fan Club, it does buff itself. This, by the way, is a little bit of a misleading card. It's not just buffing the zero cost Dart Monkey. It also is affecting a few other cards. It's going to be affecting, first of all, itself. Fan Club is going to be doing 40 damage, or if you have 2 of these on the board, they will be affecting each other. It'll do Spike-o-pult, like I mentioned, giving 10 extra power to that. Crossbow Monkey is also going to be affected, getting 10 more, and then Sharpshooter as well, which is the big 9-cost card, will be gaining, again, every single shot gaining 10 more power. I think with the 0 cost, I haven't tested it yet, I definitely want to try it out now, that the 0 cost Dart Monkey being viable and really, really cheap anti-aggro, together with, again, you also, I think, have Triple Shot that I missed. Yep, so Triple Shot also, anyway, is a card that's a very good anti-aggro card that you basically run a couple of these in any control deck. And then the fact that, again, the Super Monkey Fan Club is not so incredibly outclassed now by Bionic Boomerang. I think it will see some play. Again, back then, this would do 40 and then add 10 more to each of your other 4 monkeys, so it basically was doing 80 per turn for 6, which was the same as Bionic Boomerang, but this is was just a much better card with its ability and not having to build your whole deck with just Dart Monkeys. But yeah, Super Monkey Fan Club will hopefully somewhat be able to fill the niche that Bionic Boomerang did fill before, especially again with the zero cost Dart Monkey being very efficient. I really would like to see that see some more play. Alright, that was my rant about aggro. Let's get to the next monkey. Glaive Ricochet got hugely nerfed. This used to have a reload speed of 1, and now it has a reload speed of 2. So again, the turn you play it, obviously there's no reloading, so it's going to be doing the same amount. I try to look at this card as doing basically 150 damage every time it can attack. It'll be doing 30, 30, 30, which is 90, and let's say an average of 2 other balloons on the board. Obviously they can have a huge board, or they can only have 1 balloon. It's only going to be doing 90, but if they have 2 other balloons on the board, it'll be doing 90 and then 60. It'll be 10, 10, 3 times, doing about 150 damage. I see why that was very high in the eyes of Ninja Kiwi. 150 damage per turn, the very strong control. Right now, but again, aside from that first turn that you play it, this is basically now only doing 75 per turn on average. Again, with the 2 monkey theory, which is basically the same as Super Monkey, and nobody plays Super Monkey, and this costs 4 more. This is also just such a huge liability because of its huge cost. It can get stolen by your expert negotiators. So again, it's just, they can get destroyed by Shrink. It can even get destroyed, since it only has a base of 30 attack. It can even get destroyed by Bedtime. I do think the fact that it was way too expensive, came out too late in the game, and was such a liability if they're able to target it with one of the removal cards, that was enough of a liability. I saw Glaive Ricochet, it was a good card, but I don't really think this needed to get nerfed. It should have a ridiculous amount of damage, really disproportionate amount of damage if it's going to be this hard to play, this hard to include in a deck, and then that much of a liability if your opponent has removal. So not really a huge fan of this, and I don't think now, I don't think anyone's really going to play Glaive Ricochet. Seems like it got killed. Alright, here is, even probably more than Bionic Boomerang, the most significant change in the entire patch. It also was the strongest, I think, hands down the strongest card in the beta, and it was nerfed hugely as Quick Ready. This is a super, super oppressive card in the fact that it represents instant, very often unanswerable damage. You can play any balloon that has a 1 delay and it will immediately activate it. This started off as 3 pre-alpha, in the alpha. Now in the beta it costs 4, and now they finally made it cost 6. I think this is the correct place for this card. People were thinking about a complete rework of Quick Ready, of it, let's say, not being able to reduce instantly balloons down to 1 delay. Maybe it would work the next turn, or it just couldn't affect a 1 delay balloon. They really did want there to be some kind of Quick Ready. I think I actually like this costing 6 the best of all the solutions that I've heard, because it creates OTK, it creates combo decks. I mean, combo decks have to have some way of being viable, and they're very, very fun to play. And again, the fact it costs 6 makes it just, you can't just spam 2 of these in every deck, even in an aggro deck. This is still going to be a little bit slow. It's going to be more reserved for decks that accumulate a lot of gold or are not trying to win so fast. Double quick ready is also, like, I used to be able to play 2 quick readies on the same card for only 8 costs, and now it's going to be costing 12. It's going to be a lot harder to pull off, and I think quick ready is going to be in a pretty good spot. We're obviously going to do a lot of testing, playing a lot of matches with decks. We'll try this both in early game aggro decks. Maybe you can run one of these in an aggro deck, both in early game and in more late game combo decks, and I think this is going to be in a much better spot. This was easily the most oppressive card before the nerf. Now, really, the next cards to talk about are the next ones that are on the list, and it is a lot of the double balloons. The double green balloon used to have 90 power, effectively making it to 180 maximum damage. Now it's 80, so it's only going to be doing 160, but way more importantly, double yellow balloon used to have 140 health, making it do a whopping 280 damage if it hits face. Let's say if you quick ready it, or if they're not able to answer it. Now it's only doing 110, so the effective damage has really been reduced by not just by 30 but by 60. A huge nerf to double yellow balloon, and also double ceramic. This used to do 250, which essentially would kill any opponent, being able to do a maximum of 500 damage, and now it's doing 220. The most oppressive thing in the game, besides for aggro, I'd say even after aggro, the second thing, obviously, was the combo finishers. Double ceramic balloon with 2 quick readies would finish off an opponent immediately. Obviously, that's a lot harder to do now. First of all, it's going to be 7 and 6 and 6, which is 19 gold, which is a lot more expensive than the previous that would have only cost 15 gold. That would be 4, 4, and 8, and 4, 4 is 8, and 7 would be 15. So now, and not only that, but it's only going to do a total 440, as opposed to before it was doing the full 500. So you need to do that extra 60 damage from some other balloon at least leaking, and either doing like a pink balloon or something like MOAB strike that would do 100 damage directly to your opponent's face. So it makes it a lot harder for that to be pulled off. The super, even more oppressive than that, was just double yellow balloon quick ready. Not only does that cost 11, but now instead of doing 280, which is most of their health, the majority of their health, now it's only doing 220, which means the majority of your opponent's health is going to still be intact. So huge nerf, and doing that twice does not kill an opponent anymore. That's still, again, only going to equal 440 damage out of the 500 total. So you gotta hit them again with a pink balloon or a MOAB strike. I'm super happy about that. It was way too overpowered. I think that, again, combo decks are going to be heavily nerfed. They're not going to be as strong as they were before. This is going to sort of make way for other late game strategies, really playing a lot of ceramic balloons, or even better yet, playing MOABs that got buffed. I'll get to those really soon. Yep, so hopefully there's still going to be possibilities of, again, hoarding a lot of gold and then doing a big 19 damage combo to basically do 95% of their health. For the win. We'll see exactly if that is even viable anymore, especially with defenders and things like that on the board. All right, we are going to move on to the next one. It was the buggiest card in the game. I made a video displaying all those. This was the Emboldened Bloon. So, first of all, they fixed all the bugs. This used to be 10 cost, 200, and the delay effectively was just 1. It used to just go down to 1 delay. There also were some bugs where it used to just give Bloontonium 10 Bloontonium, since that was the base cost no matter how much you were even paying for it. Now it's only going to be giving you Bloontonium according to how much you pay. So if you have, again, 6 Bloons on the board, you're playing this for 2, which is a great deal for 300 damage. It's only going to give you 2 Bloontonium. There was also some other glitch that if your Bloons were being popped, it still considered them to be alive. They fixed all 3 of those bugs. But they have also reworked the card. Like, it kind of felt right at 10 cost that the delay would have been 1. Now that because you can only have 7 other Bloons on the board, so the maximum discount you can get is playing an Emboldened Bloon for 3. And then it was doing only 200 damage before, so it's even weaker than a ceramic with a huge condition. It just felt right that it should only have 1 or 2 delay. The dev said that this was not their intention with the card at all. This is supposed to be a sort of a complement to swarm decks where you're playing a bunch of very cheap red and blue balloons or like a red balloon storm. And you're going to be able to, not that this is going to be attacking with them at one delay, but this should just be a big looming threat on the board that if they are able to field clear you, this will still be not answered. Let's say if they play a Firestorm or a Super Monkey Storm, you'll still actually have some value on the board that you're not going to be instantly answered by field clear if you're playing a Swarm deck. I really do like the way the card is right now, because again, if you have 6 balloons on the board, you can play one of these for 2 and then the other one for 1. So it's really, I mean, insane value. The fact that it also has 2 charges. For a Swarm deck, doesn't fit with the Swarm itself. It's not attacking, but it gives sort of, again, it's something that saves Swarm decks from instantly dying to field clear. And I think that is a really cool idea. And then obviously while these are ticking down, you can spam the rest of your cards and still put too much stats on the board for them to be able to handle if they don't have another field clear card. So I really do like, again, the changes to Emboldened Bloon. It was fun to play around with the glitches, but yeah, that was definitely going to be patched. The next change that was made is Obyn's second ability. This was easily the worst ability in the game. He used to only give 10 shield per turn. Now it's going to be giving 20, so it's really twice as good. I really do like this better. We'll see even if it's strong enough here, because again, it's just giving you extra health. But the fact that you're stacking health and it's going to be significantly making harder for opponents to kind of just burst you down all in one turn with some kind of quick ready combo, I think that'll actually make like Obyn almost the anti-burst, the anti-OTK, if you're really able to maintain your health high and then stack 20 shields every single turn with this. I think it really does. Again, this ability, only 10 shield per turn, was really, really bad, especially when you compare it to Gwen and Quincy's superpowers that were just adding way more than 10 per turn on average. So I really like that change. Next, so going back to the cards, the 2 yellow balloons got nerfed. Yellow balloon used to be 145. This also was something that came down from the storm. It was a bit oppressive, you know what I mean? Especially at 1 delay. They just reduced it to 140, and then again, swarm yellow used to be 120. They brought this down to 115. This was part of the plan of sort of nerfing aggro decks that again are just spamming 1 balloon every single turn, making these really efficient 3-cost cards slow down a little bit. I don't think this is going to make a difference, and again, I don't think this really address the main problem of aggro decks, is the fact that you never run out of cards, even though you're running, literally your whole deck could just be 1s, 2s, and 3s, and you can actually win most of your games with that kind of aggro deck. So, yeah, but a little bit of a nerf. Hopefully that will stabilize the meta just a little bit until aggro is properly addressed. Alright, next we got the MOAB. So this is something I'm really excited about. MOAB's got a huge buff. Not only did they go from 450 up to 500, but more importantly, they give you 2 charges now, which no one was really playing MOABs. I did have a meme deck I was going to show you where you basically play Prince of Darkness and then you spam a MOAB every single turn, and hopefully you're going to be able to outstat their defenses. I'm definitely going to make that deck now that these are buffed, because it's going to be super viable. MOAB's never had the problem of kind of running out of steam, so adding more steam to it doesn't really necessarily fit with the card design. On the other hand, though, if you're running a bunch of MOABs, instead of having your entire deck basically having to run the maximum amount of MOABs possible, you don't have to run quite as many now, because again, each MOAB does give you 2 charges. I mean, incredibly strong. Especially also with Bionic Boomerang, that probably was one of the most efficient, easy to use in terms of its versatility and how much damage it did per turn per cost. These MOABs are going to be a lot harder now to deal with. Maybe even we'll see some specific MOAB removal if these really become meta. Things like, I'm looking for the MOAB removal card here. Sticky Bomb, that only does, again, 300 damage to large balloons, which again are going to be either MOABs or just Emboldened Bloon. Maybe we'll be seeing some of these to slow them down a little bit. Gwen, probably stocks of Gwen went way up, because Gwen is the best with her superpowers to be able to burn these. You know, these are such an important part of the Bloons franchise, especially BTD6. And the fact that, again, you will actually have some real good uses for this, not only because these have been buffed significantly, huge buffs, especially again with the 2 charges, but also the fact that the other late game strategy, the combo, which was double yellow bloon, double ceramic, and quick readies, was heavily nerfed. That's definitely going to cause a shift in the meta, and we are definitely going to be seeing a lot more MOABs around. Is it too strong? I guess we'll see. It's gonna maybe the way that you really deal with these is just playing aggro and really trying to win before that before the MOABs hit you. But yeah, this will definitely make late game control into late game MOABs a very viable strategy. Moving just in order of their list here, not in order of cost, 2 of the early game, very powerful early game Monkey Towers got nerfed. The first is Mortar Monkey. This used to be 45 damage per turn, now it's only doing 40. And this makes sense. For a 2-coster, the liability of not being able to target it wasn't really enough to justify it doing so much damage per turn for just a 2-cost card. It is attacking again every single turn, and yeah, this seems about right at 2-cost 40. And again, very strong, but you can't target it, so that will be a liability. The other one that was nerfed, that's still also a very strong card, and we're going to be seeing a lot of this right now that MOABs are viable, is Burning Stuff Mortar. This was doing 45 per turn, and then if again you add 30 damage of burn per turn, essentially was doing 75. Actually, was this 50 before? This was 50. This is down to 40. Okay, so it was doing 50 plus 30. It was doing 80 damage per turn. Now it's still doing 70. And again, if it's hitting a MOAB, that's not just 70 damage. It's going to do 70, and then 30 and 30. I'm not sure if they addressed the bugs with this. Apparently, Burning Stuff Mortar did have a bug that would never target any bloon that was on fire. It also was being very incompatible with Gwen's ability, that it's setting things on fire, and then Gwen, using her ultimate, was not doing the 200 damage. It wasn't considered on fire by the game logic, so hopefully those bugs were fixed as well. And again, this is going to see a ton of play as MOAB decks become more prevalent, because this is really probably the strongest answer to MOABs. Because again, 70 damage, and then a slow bloon is just going to be taking so much damage per turn just for a 4-cost card here. Moving right along, we got Crippling Sniper. So here's a card that probably no one ever used. This is going to be, again, targeting large balloons, have their delay increased by 1. First of all, no one used to ran MOABs. And second of all, the delay used to be 4, which was just way too slow. They made it down to 3. Now, this isn't doing a lot of damage per turn. It's only 40 damage per turn average, if you consider the reloading. But I do think now this could be viable when it comes to 3. Also, again, large balloons are going to be more meta, and that's going to give Crippling Sniper some chance to be seen. It's obviously a unique card. You can only run 1 of these per deck, so we'll see again if Crippling Sniper. I think MOABs need to take over the meta. I'm not sure if they will, but we need to see MOABs take over the meta, and then Crippling Sniper then could be a potential response to that. Otherwise, this isn't necessarily a nerf, but they addressed a bug that was in the game when Ceasefire. Now, Ceasefire used to do a lot more than it says on the card. It didn't just make monkeys lose all their ammo, but it also increased their reload by 1. So a monkey that loses ammo has to reload. So their reload would already be 1, or whatever it says on the card, would reload 2. It would always be adding 1 more onto that. So even a 2 reload monkey wouldn't just have to reload for 2 turns after you played Ceasefire. It would now have to reload for 3. A reload 1, it wouldn't just gain its ammo back at the next turn, it would actually increase its reload now, not just to 1, but make it 2. This was becoming a very popular card because it was bugged. It's just now supposed to do what it does right now, which is just losing ammo. So if it has 2 reload, it's just going to start reloading and reload at the beginning of their turn. It'll take basically 1 turn off for a 2 reload card. For 1 reload cards, this isn't going to do anything now. It'll make them lose their ammo, and at the beginning of their turn, they will regain their ammo. So again, this was a very popular card in terms of both for 1-turn kill decks. You would just completely wipe away all of their defenses for mid-range. Even for aggro, this could have been useful because, again, it really just makes all of their monkeys out of commission for like at least 1 turn, sometimes 2 if they have a bigger reload. Right now with Ceasefire, the way it is, though, I think this is not going to see any play. This is going to be a completely useless card. The only thing this affects, first of all, monkeys with 1 reload, this does nothing to. Because you play this, they reload at the beginning of their turn. Even monkeys with 2 reload, that supposedly had used their bullets the turn before, unless they were just sitting there doing nothing. But let's say they used their bullets the turn before. So anyway, they're going to be at a 2 delay. Like, this isn't going to do anything to any monkey that's shot. It's only going to be a monkey that, first of all, is two or more delay, and second of all, did not shoot the turn before because they shot, they're out of ammo anyway. But didn't just held all their bullets. I guess for like defenders are very often being preserved on the board and not manually firing from turn to turn. This would, again, is still useful if they have 3 defenders on the board, tack shooters and elites. This will clear all the bullets away from them, so then you're able to actually hit face for a combo. I don't think this is going to be useful at all because, again, monkeys reload at the beginning of their turn. If the way monkeys reloaded were changed, Ceasefire, and then of course its baby card, which is Whoops, which just does this to a single monkey, I think then these would be viable. For example, if all monkeys reloaded at the end of their turn instead of at the beginning, so you'd say, let's say these 1 reload monkeys would have they're already reloaded during your opponent's turn. That way, Ceasefire and Whoops would actually affect them. They would actually be useful because they're not reloading at the beginning of their turn. They would effectively skip a turn for all of the 1 reloads from attacking. It would still have a very similar effect for defenders. The only thing that would happen is that defenders would actually effectively have a shorter reload time, because if you're reloading again at the end of your turn, these are the only ones that can attack during your opponent's turn. These would be reloading a little bit faster in regards not to their manual ability, but to their defender ability. Do I think that would be a bad thing? No, I think especially Elite Defender is too slow. This is such a huge, it's a very important card, a very strong anti-burst card, but again, it does reload a little bit too slow, and perhaps, again, changing the way monkeys reload happening at the end of your turn instead of the beginning, it would solve the Ceasefire and the Elite Defender being down for 3 turns between attacks. I think also that defenders became a lot less important. Now that Quick Ready and Double Bloons burst decks are nerfed, I think defenders' stonks went down a lot. They're not as important. So the fact that, again, that you're letting the defender in a non-Quick Ready meta, the fact you're letting the defender ability happen a little faster is not necessarily going to be a problem. I guess also if they've used the defender ability and they're not reloading at the beginning of their turn, it's not even going to be a problem. When defenders attack using the defender ability, they're not reloading at the beginning of their turn. The only time these would be buffed is if they're manually attacking, then they'll get their defender 1 turn earlier. I don't think that would be a problem, and again, I think technically, especially for cards like Ceasefire, to make them useful, that would be a cool change, maybe something to think about. Really, right now, though, Ceasefire is not going to see any play because it's completely outclassed by Expert Negotiator that can steal a whole monkey, permanently remove it from their side of the board, put it on your side of the board. For one, that's usually always going to be a better way of affecting their elite defenders than using a Ceasefire. Also, just Shrink is a better option if you're really trying to hit phase, and even just Stun is a great way if you're just trying to get past a defender or something slow like that. It's going to be a lot more versatile and cheaper option than Ceasefire. Other than that, they fixed some of Gwen's abilities. Daily quests were fixed. They fixed bugs where people were just dying instantly in the game. I addressed the Ceasefire fixes, the bug fixes that kind of ruined the card. And of course, the Emboldened Bloon, they fixed all 3 glitches in that card. Anyway, guys, that is all my takes on the buffs and nerfs. I will be making a general tier list video going through all the cards and telling you guys later what I think of each and every card. I'll be doing that, of course, after I test the new balance patch a little bit more. Otherwise, if you want to see more Bloons Card Storm content and updates, be sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. This is Fry.